Now from the Weather Tracker TV Storm Studios, this is your weather today. Here's Chief Meteorologist William Cole.
All right, folks, here we go on this Back to Work Monday. Again, it is a new work week for all of us, and it is a new week of weather, and it's definitely a completely different week of weather. Of course, last week we had the clouds, we had the fog, we had the rain. Well, out the door this morning, you've already noticed it. We've got full sunshine, and in fact, that is going to be your forecast through most of this work week. Our next opportunity of rain appears to be showing up towards the end of the work week. We're going to talk about that coming up, but at least today, really just a North Texas classic, and it really just kind of put the cherry on the top, so to speak. We are going to be topping out right around 70 degrees for a daytime high, and again, winds, they do remain light as we go through the day as well. So even out the door this morning, it was chilly, probably needed the big jacket, but it wasn't overly cold, especially compared to a couple weeks ago. DFW officially down to 40 this morning. Kind of the frosty spot around the Metroplex was Denton, which is pretty typical. The reporting station's kind of more down in a low-lying valley, but again, they were down to 34 this morning. You can see looking around North Texas, it was a mix of 30s and 40s out the door. Again, down in the Athens area, down in Henderson County, the one at least reporting station that did come in with a very light freeze again earlier this morning. So looking at radar, again, first of all, in North Texas, in the Southern Plains, and really even looking around the nation, you don't really see anything showing up. There's nothing wrong with the radar, I promise. It's just quiet. Again, it's quiet in North Texas, but it's also a very quiet weather day around the nation, and through a good part of the week, even around the nation, it's going to be relatively quiet. We don't have a lot going on, but slowly but surely, the Pacific jet stream is going to begin to kick back in, and we've got systems coming in from the west. And again, like I mentioned, towards the end of this upcoming week, that's when the pattern does become a little more active. You can see kind of that long wave troughing pattern really pulling off the eastern seaboard now. And then again, for most of us as we go through the week, we've got this ridging pattern. Ridging pattern means quiet, calm weather. Simply put, that's the forecast. Now, other than that, the other key piece of, well, our forecast late January into February, it's always where is the Arctic air? And well, in our situation right now, the Arctic air has gone well to the north. In fact, it's in far northern Canada. And even though it's cold in Canada, for the folks up there, it's unseasonably not as cold as it should be, right? You can see the purples well to the north. And at least right now, there's no real indication over the next 7 to 10 to 12 days that the Arctic air is going to be on the move. So at least relatively quiet heading into February. But as we know, typically, at least over the last 5 years, February has kind of been the month we got to watch. But right now, looks like as we head into February, looking okay. Looking at the overall pattern here, like I mentioned, coming in from the west, eventually, here comes our next storm system. In fact, there's a couple storm systems beginning to line back up out in the Pacific. This will be arriving on Friday, I think late Friday, Friday night, maybe early Saturday morning. Should have a pretty good hit of rain, maybe a little bit of thunder move through. But I think most of Saturday turns out the actual rain chance is going to be very late on Friday. And again, just looking at future rainfall projections, this is basically late Friday into Saturday. Outside of that, there's really no additional rain chance as we go through the week. But projections here are showing we could pick up maybe an inch, maybe two around the area. And again, like I mentioned, more beneficial rain as we head well into the early part of February. Otherwise, just quickly peeking at the modeling, a little bit of high-level cirrus cloud cover in place. But again, outside of that, we are just absolutely quiet in North Texas. And again, even if you're going to be traveling regionally over the next several days, in Lone Star State up to Oklahoma, over to Louisiana, everything is really looking good, especially for this time of year. 70s, again, a North Texas classic really on the way as we go through the day. Winds remain light. They become a little more variable, but winds do remain light as we go through the day. And again, even heading into your evening, look at the 60s for the end of January. Again, light winds, of course, were completely dry. And then overnight tonight, more the way of 40s, pretty similar to what we saw this morning. Out the door tomorrow morning. And again, you can see very similar, well, for your daytime highs tomorrow, Tuesday, as today. A lot of locations upper 60s to right around 70. So it's a really good news forecast going forward. A little bitty weak cold front kind of coming in from the northeast. We called it a backdoor front. It's going to try and come in late Tuesday and Wednesday. Really no cold air with that. Here comes that approaching storm, though. Opportunity of rain very late Friday, ending quickly Saturday. The rest of the weekend, a little bit cooler, but turns out okay. And then again, you can see maybe in about 11 or 12 days on down the road, another possible storm showing up then.